Hello everybody, it's Emery48 here and welcome back to another Star Wars Sunday. Today we're continuing in the Canon timeline with Thrawn Ascendancy, Book 1, Chaos Rising by Timothy Zahn. It takes place in 19 BBY, which is the same year as Revenge of the Sith, I believe, which we have not gotten to quite yet. Based on the dramatist persona, this book is going to heavily focus on Thrawn's species, the Chiss, and their movement, the Chiss Ascendancy. Prologue. 3 warships attacked the Chiss Ascendancy homeworld of Scylla and its capital city, Saplar. I can already tell this book is going to have a lot of things I am going to struggle to pronounce, but that is why I always put the words on screen for you as I am talking about them, so that my pronunciations don't matter quite as much. Supreme General Paccosh reported to the syndics of the ruling families after the attack was quickly defeated. They do not know who was behind the attack at this time. It came quick and without warning. Paccosh thinks this attack was to cover up something else that had already happened and distract the Chiss, as the attack was never going to succeed. He is going to pick up Mithra Naruto, or Captain Thrawn, on Naporar, and travel to Dioya, where a derelict ship was found 2 days before. Paccosh thinks that ship is the Why, and Thrawn may be able to figure out the Who. Memories 1. There are 13 memories scattered throughout the 23 chapters in this book. It is a unique way to format a book, and I am intrigued to see how it flows. Paccosh had contacted Nico, or Thurfian, about an exceptional student that would fit well in the Myth family as a merit adoptive, Kivu Ranuru, or Vuran. I know Thrawn is a merit adoptive of the Myth from Outbound Flight, so I'm guessing this child will become Thrawn, or is Thrawn. At this point, the Chiss are just creating the expansionary defense fleet, and Thurfian needs to find and train competent commanders for that fleet, which Thrawn is during Outbound Flight. On the same day Thurfian interviewed for Ron, he got a message that the boy was accepted by the Myth family, which was surprising to both, as the process never seemed to take less than 2 months, even in some cases up to 6 months. Thurfian knew that this was all to cover the fact that someone high up in the Myth had already chosen Varan. Varan became Mithra Nuro, or Thrawn. Chapter 1. Thrawn and Paccosh investigated the ship. It had been a refugee ship which was attacked and all beings were killed. Paccosh is going to get Thrawn back in his ship, the Springhawk, to help with Admiral Alani's attack on Paccosh, who have been causing trouble on the outskirts of the Ascendancy. Then Thrawn can take the Springhawk to investigate where these refugees came from and why they were attacked. Mid-Captain Ufsa Macro, or Samacro, read the orders stating that he would be Thrawn's first officer. Samacro's first officer, Kirill, would be Thrawn's second officer. Samacro had to convince Kirill to actually follow orders Thrawn gave and not file any complaints, as that would not help any situation. Memories 2. On the way to cadet school, Thrawn met Alia Stove, a 13-year-old girl and a former Skywalker, mental navigator for the Chiss. Normally, that career ends at 14, but she cannot navigate a year earlier. She asked Junior Captain Vorlip what will happen to her now. Vorlip, who was impressed by Thrawn, said Skywalkers often became merit adoptives for one of the 9 ruling families. Alia Stove said if she has a choice, she chooses the Myth. Interesting that the mental navigators are called Skywalkers. This feels like too much of a coincidence to not have any connection to the Skywalker family within the Republic, although it does describe what they do very well. Chapter 2. Current day Alia Stove is Myth Alia Stove, or Talius. Talius, with the help of Syndic Thurfian, got approval to be the caregiver for the Skywalker on the Springhawk. She wanted a way on board to see Thrawn. Thurfian wants a favor in return from Talius for getting her on board the ship. Talius met Sherry, the Skywalker she would care for on this journey. Thrawn set the Springhawk as bait so the rest of the Chiss fleet could defeat the swarming Patatus ships. Admiral Arlani then let Thrawn do whatever checks and repairs he wanted before continuing on to his next mission, while she and the rest of the fleet went and spoke with the leaders of Patatas. Memories 3. Senior Cadet Urizi Aralani, Ziara, was the proctor for a simulation Cadet Thrawn was accused of cheating on, as he got a grade much higher than anyone had ever scored. Colonel Waveri is leading the investigative panel. Aralani reached out to General Bakif to find out more information on Thrawn. Bakif arrived at the hearing after recess, and since the simulation cannot be duplicated, he offered to run the test for real using the same parameters so they could watch Thrawn do it again. Waveri agreed. Thrawn was able to replicate exactly what he had done in the simulation in the real-life test using non-lethal weapons. He was freed of the charges. Chapter 3. Aralani and her first officer, Senior Captain Kiwutro Owimis, or Wutro, were brought before a Defense Hierarchy Council to answer questions regarding Thrawn's disobeying her order during their fight against the Patatas, even though that was the reason they won the battle and were able to secure a peace treaty. There were 6 of the 9 families represented in this council: Aralani's former family, the Irizi, Wutro's current family, the Kiwu, along with the Klar, Plick, Ufsa, and Drak. Wutro gave evidence that an emissary during their last visit to the Patatas had let slip where a future attack from the Chiss would come from, which got the heat off Thrawn and ended the hearing so they could investigate this evidence further. Chapter 4. Sherry delivered the Springhawk to a 4-star system, which is difficult to enter. Thrawn thinks another refugee ship may rendezvous here, looking for the other one after possibly getting separated. Thrawn spoke with Sherry and Tullius after they arrived. No other captain had ever had that kind of conversation with Sherry. She was having a large amount of sensory overload after the difficult navigation. Tullius is the only caregiver Sherry has ever had that understood this feeling. She was also complimented by Thrawn and Tullius, which seems like it has been a rare thing for her to get a compliment. Shortly after Sherry and Tullius got back to the Skywalker suite, Thrawn and the Springhawk found the other refugee ship. Its hyperspace drive was damaged, and everyone on board was dead from lack of oxygen. Thrawn had gone out with the survey team and was returning with things to be examined. Samacro warned Tullius that if she is going to observe, don't get in the way, and if a fight with an alien species happens, she better not cause their death because of myth family politics. They found a void guide aboard the refugee ship. He was the last to die and wiped large amounts of records, including all navigation records. Thrawn knows because of this that the void guide was working for the attackers and did not want others to find the planet of origin. Tullius helped Sherry recover from a nightmare, which is very common for Skywalkers, and talking about them brought back one of Talia's nightmares after she fell asleep that night as well. Thrawn has asked Aralani to come rendezvous with the Springhawk and to only bring the Vigilant and not to hire a navigator. Bakif approved them getting a Skywalker for their journey and wants to know more about the caregiver on Thrawn's ship, as there is uncertainty over who she is and how she got the job. Chapter 5. Thrawn found the system he suspects the refugees came from. It is very difficult to enter naturally, and on top of that, the main planet and most of the entry points to the system are heavily guarded. Aralani wants Sherry and Tullius to join the Vigilant during this mission, as the Springhawk will be in danger. Thrawn said Sherry can go, but Tullius may be beneficial, as it seems this species holds its females in high regard, so he wants to bring a female to the mining facility with him in case they face any guards. He would prefer to talk them down and explain the situation than be caught in a fight deep in their territory. Using the Vigilant as a disguise, the Springhawk was able to sneak its way to a mining asteroid where the Vigilant left the system trailed by patrol ships. The Springhawk successfully made it into the system undetected. Aralani told Sherry that the Springhawk made it safely to their destination in the system, but will not rendezvous until the next day, meaning she will stay with the Vigilant's Skywalker, Abeg, and her caregiver, who is stricter than Tullius. She wants them to read a bit before resting, even though they just did 2 two-hour journeys. Sherry decided to start reading the files Tullius had sent her about Thrawn to prepare her for possible circumstances of this mission. Memories 4. Thrawn had brought Ziara to an art gallery as a way to celebrate and thank her for helping him in his case. She was a bit disappointed in the location of the celebration, but he showed her that he could infer civilization's tactics based on their artwork. A lot of the artwork had been gathered during the Chiss's time outside of their borders during their involvement in the Republic's war against the Sith long ago. Ziara invited Thrawn back to her apartment where she would show him some of her artwork, and then take him to a dojo to duel to see if he could gather her tactics from her art. Thrawn easily blocked her attacks and countered easily after a short time. Ziara changed her tactics and was able to get some hits on, but in the stress of a duel, Ziara went back to her favored and comfortable tactics and never landed another hit. Thrawn explained what he had interpreted and assured her that he hoped to prove he could do this with alien species in the future. She seemed impressed, but did not mention specifically. This book so far is so incredibly detailed and is building such important characters and whole civilization. It is fascinating to witness and read. The memories are a great way to do throwbacks, which are always relevant to either the previous chapter or the next chapter. Chapter 6. Tullius and Thrawn have arrived at the mining facility. A ship is headed from the planet towards their location. Thrawn is hoping to have a conversation with them, but based on the decor of the mining station, Thrawn knows this is the system the refugees came from. Thrawn and Tullius spoke with a group that are the same as the refugees. They are Paccosh from the planet Rapak. They are under the control of the Nikardun, who's led by General Yiv the Benevolent. Benevolent in history, I feel like, is never a good name for a leader. It means they're probably fairly ruthless. The leader of the group of Paccosh, Wingali for Maroksa, gave Thrawn a ring that went on 2 fingers, because Thrawn's cover story was that they were travelers collecting art to preserve for people who were unable to preserve it themselves. Wingali is not the overall leader of the Paccosh, just the leader of the squad that was at the mining facility. Memories 5. Kylori of Uan-Dualan was hired as a Pathfinder for a Chiss ship. He was given the assignment by Prak, a Pathfinder dispatcher for the Navigators Guild. Junior Commander Thrawn spoke with Kylori after their journey and said he hopes to work together again in the future. Chapter 7. Thrawn has picked up Kylori and wants him to bring them into the Rapak system. Kylori knows that system is under the control of the Nikardun, but because of guild rules, he has not mentioned anything. Kylori was not thrilled to see Thrawn return to him. Samacro spoke with Mid-Commander Elod Alvumic, or Dalvu. She is also displeased with Thrawn's leadership, but Samacro reassured her of his ability. The Springhawk used one of its escape pods as a distraction when it entered the Rapak system. This left only one patrol ship to deal with the Springhawk while the others went after the pod. The Springhawk damaged and captured the Nikardun ship and left the system. Thrawn dropped Kylori off back at his station. Kylori immediately headed for the Primea system, the capital of the Vac Combine. It is also the next location Yiv is recruiting, much like the Separatists recruit planets to their cause. Kylori met Yiv on his dreadnought, the Deathless, and reported that Thrawn was behind the incident in the Rapak system. Yiv was disappointed Kylori did not know Thrawn's full name, and Kylori doesn't seem to have a problem with the whole guild rules here, because he's kind of going against them at this point. Kylori thought he was going to be killed for bringing bad news and not even having all the details, but Yiv wants him to continue on as normal and find out Thrawn's full name. Memories 6. Thrawn suspects the pirates attacking the outskirts of the Ascendancy are connected to the Lyoan. Bakif approved the mission, and he is baiting some ships out of the Lyoan system. He has Kylori as a navigator for this mission. Kylori brought them to the Kinos system, where Ziara was waiting with her warship. 4 Lyoan ships that followed Thrawn were easy targets for Ziara. Chapter 8. All of the Nikardans in the ship Thrawn captured committed suicide before the Chiss boarded. Thrawn and Aralani were speaking with Bakif about the event, as capturing a ship was not technically against Chiss law, but it was also not specifically allowed. Syndics Mith-Urfianico, Thurfian, and Iritzi Stal Mustro, Zistalmu, arrived in Bakif's office. Aralani is confused why a representative from her former family has come with someone from Thrawn's current family. Thrawn thinks the Nikardan are trying to recruit the Lioian. He wants to travel there with Aralani to find out. Thurfian and Zistalmu brought up their failure the last time they went to the Lioian system. To ensure they will not go, the Syndics have decided to transfer Thrawn, Tullius, and Sherry to the Vigilant while the Springhawk is receiving repairs to join Aralani on a diplomatic mission that Bakif was annoyed he knew nothing of. They will be escorting the Ascendancy's new ambassador to Urch, the capital of the Urchiv Key, Boed Il Pargasoy. The Vigilant arrived at Urch with Ambassador Ilparg. He had not been kind to Sherry throughout the journey, blaming her for any extra time taken in the journey. They were met by 6 Urchiv Key ships, a Lioian ship, and a Nikardan ship. The Vigilant, with Sherry's help, was able to escape Urch. Aralani convinced Ilparg into requesting to head to Lioian space to demand answers for their involvement at Urch. Ilparg is not happy they invited him to be an ambassador, only to be used as bait to capture a Chiss ship. Chapter 9. The Vigilant found a Nikardan dreadnought in Lioian space, along with some Lioian fighters. They said they knew nothing of the incident at Urch and are not involved. Thrawn and Aralani know that the Lioians and Nikardan are allies because the Lioian ships still have their weapons, where the Paccosh weapons had been removed from their ships. Thrawn wants to visit Solitaire, the capital of the Garwian Unity, to find out more information on their way back to the Ascendancy. Memories 7. Both Thrawn and Ziara were promoted to senior captain by General Bakif. Ziara got command of the Parala, and Thrawn is her 3rd officer. Chapter 10. Thrawn wants to take Tullius with him to Solitaire so she can be a fake family hostage. He wants to give the Nikardan some false information about the Chiss, so they have to rethink their attack. Thrawn also suspects the Nikardan are planning on taking over all of the systems that border the Ascendancy so that they can attack the Chiss from all sides, and Thrawn would like to check on other border systems to see if the Nikardan have already gotten there or not. Aralani agreed to care for Sherry while Tullius was gone. Sherry was very sad because she thought Tullius would die because she yelled at Tullius when she told Sherry she was leaving, and Sherry said she hated Tullius. Aralani comforted Sherry and assured her that Thrawn would keep Tullius safe. Thrawn and Tullius met with Frangelic, who is going to join them on a diplomatic mission already scheduled from Solitaire to the Vac homeworld of Crimea, which is under Nikardan influence. Frangelic had mentioned that the Garwians did know of changes happening to nearby systems, and like Thrawn want more information to determine if it is a threat. Memories 8. The Parala had come to a distress call by Frangelic when the Garwian planet of Stivik was under attack by pirates. Aralani would not let Thrawn intervene, but asked if he could describe how to defeat the pirates to someone and dismissed him from the bridge. I'm guessing he relayed information to Frangelic. Oddly, this is the only time in the book so far that they leave what Thrawn is doing up to imagination. What he is planning is not always revealed, but what he is doing regularly is. Chapter 11. Tullius spotted Kylori on the bridge as the navigator and told Thrawn, who is much less worried than Tullius is. Kylori spoke to Thrawn, who was using an alias as an art expert, and asked for a meeting with Yiv, who was of a species he had never met. Kylori set up the meeting and told Yiv that the art expert was actually Thrawn. Kylori is confused about the presence of a hostage or companion with Thrawn. Yiv was pleased with Kylori after speaking with Thrawn. He is sure Thrawn is as big a threat as Kylori described him to be. Yiv also thinks Tullius being a hostage is a bluff to lower Yiv's confidence. Chapter 12. Upon her return to Scylla, Aralani met with a very angry Bakif, Thurfian, and Zistalmu. Bakif reluctantly agreed to let Zestalmu and his wife join the Vigilant to go and pick up Thrawn. Zestalmu's wife is a former caregiver and will take over the duties until they pick up Thrawn and Tullius. Yiv plans on attacking the Garwian ship and killing Thrawn as it leaves Crimea. The Garwians on the bridge said there was no sign of the Chiss. Kylori did not want Yiv to attack the ship for no reason, and told the captain that Thrawn and Yiv had discussed Vac Art, and since his ship was nearby, they should ask him if he knew where Thrawn may have gone. Kylori is hoping that informs Yiv enough to not attack. My guess is this is all a bluff. I think Thrawn and Tullius are actually on board, but they are saying this to get Yiv to not attack. Chapter 13. My guess was wrong. Thrawn brings Tullius into a Vac Art gallery. They are confronted by the curator and asked to leave after Thrawn brings up Yiv. Thrawn wants to continue talking with civilians and try to sway them into not joining Yiv while they wait for Aralani to pick them up. They are going to head to the spaceport to steal a ship, and I don't know yet why they need to steal a ship if they already have someone coming to pick them up. Thrawn and Tullius went to their hideout, a shipping container just outside the spaceport Thrawn and Frangelic had prepared when they arrived. In a day and a half, the container will be moved into the spaceport to be shipped. Thrawn and Tullius can then exit the container and take a ship to rendezvous with Aralani. Tullius told Thrawn why she had wanted to get on the Springhawk. Thrawn revealed that his sister was a Skywalker. He assumes, anyway. She had gone missing when she was 5 and he was 3. His parents never told him why, but he realized it when he got to a high enough position in the military to understand how Skywalkers are recruited. Chapter 14. Aralani picked up Thrawn and Tullius, but not without incident. They were attacked by 4 Lyoian warships, and the battle was observed by multiple Vac fighters and a Nikardun warship. The Vigilant was able to disable some of the Lyoian ships and escape the system. Thrawn can also send a message through lasers that do not damage the ship it hits. He did it here while rendezvousing with Aralani, and it is also how he had helped the Garwians defeat the pirates in the previous memory. Memories 9. Thrawn, captaining the Boca, and Ziara, captaining the Parala, saved 8,000 Chiss on a liner that was disabled and slowly falling into a gas giant. Thrawn was praised by some, but had displeased others because he destroyed the ship to save the lives, which if he had done nothing, the ship would have been destroyed anyway, so I don't really get it, but politics in the Chiss are complicated. His command of the ship was taken away, and he will report back to the Parala under Ziara. She offered him stay with her at the Aritzi homestead while they await their next orders. I'm guessing this is what gets Ziara kicked out of the Aritzi. Ziara showed Thrawn the truth about Scylla. Instead of most of the population moving underground when the surface froze, like Chiss history books say, the majority of the population left to other planets in the Ascendancy. Scylla's population statistics still state that 8 billion people live on the planet, but it is much closer to 70 million. It is a shell with all the operations of a functioning city and planet to mask where the Chiss are actually living to enemies. All government and military offices are still on Scylla. Chapter 15. The Vigilant and Springhawk have been sent to the Lyoian homeworld to send them a message for attacking unprovoked above Crimea. 4 Lyoian warships met the Vigilant and Springhawk, with 8 more warships waiting in orbit for expected Chiss reinforcements. The Vigilant sent 2 booby-trapped shuttles, damaging the 4 warships, causing them to retreat to orbit. 2 more warships came out of orbit to meet the Chiss ships. Aralani had tried to contact the Lyoians before they began their attack, but they never responded, which told Thrawn that some Nikardun were here and they wanted to make sure the Lyoians take the fall for the attack. Tullius helped comfort Sherry during the battle. Memories 10. Zestalmu was sent by the Aritzi to recruit Thrawn away from the myth. Zestalmu does not want Thrawn in the Aritzi, but it was deemed his job to recruit Thrawn. Zestalmu said Thrawn left a positive impression on the family during his time in the Aritzi homestead. Thrawn wanted time to think on the offer. Zestalmu did mention that Ziara would not be a member of the Aritzi much longer. Arlani was removed from the Uritzi family as part of a promotion ceremony to Commodore, so she was not kicked out. It's part of moving up the ranks of the military. Thrawn congratulated Arlani on her promotion and asked for advice on his Uritzi and myth situation. Chapter 16. Samacro met with the foreman in charge of repairing the Springhawk. He was disappointed at how much damage the Springhawk took, saying it would take at least 6 weeks to repair. Samacro is losing confidence in Thrawn's tactical abilities, even though they won the battle. Thrawn had put them into unnecessarily dangerous positions on some occasions. Bakif has approved a mission that would send Thrawn scouting for allies currently resisting the Nikardun. Tullius and Sherry will join him. That is why the Springhawk sustained so much damage. Thrawn needed it to be stuck in repairs long enough for his crew not to notice he was gone. Tullius and Sherry were waiting for Thrawn outside of Bakif's office. Thurfian arrived, wanting a word with Tullius. Thrawn let her go with him to his office across the capital. Thurfian wanted her to reveal all she had learned of Thrawn or be removed from the myth. She refused and revealed that she had been approved to take the trials, which would move her status up from Merit Adoptive to Trial Born if she succeeds, and remove her from the family if she fails, which Thurfian had already threatened to do anyway, so not really anything for Tullius to lose at this point. Because of the trials, Tullius cannot join the mission. Sherry agreed to go alone with Thrawn. Based on the drawing Sherry had been making on the Springhawk, Thrawn knew she wanted to fly, and on the first day of their journey, Thrawn gave Sherry some flying lessons. Chapter 17. A bit into the journey now, Thrawn is letting Sherry do some of the flying. They found a planet protected by droid fighters. Thrawn revealed that in lesser space, there was a war where a whole side was using droids as their army. Someone was watching the fighters and jumped into hyperspace when Thrawn arrived. Thrawn estimated which planet they are fleeing to and went to go after them, thinking that group could become an ally. They went to the correct planet. The pilot was Duja, and wanted to know if the Chiss supported the Republic or Separatists. Thrawn said neither. She then asked if they had seen a Nubian ship from Naboo, and they said no, so she ended the conversation and went to the planet. Thrawn is going to wait for someone else, a warrior, not the scout. The planet is Batu. Thrawn and Sherry meet Anakin and are fascinated by his hyperspace ring. Anakin is looking for Padme, who is getting information from an informant but never called in. Thrawn will help Anakin find her, and Thrawn wants more information on the Clone War and potentially becoming allies. Thrawn and Sherry were confused that Anakin's last name was Skywalker, thinking he didn't get something right in the language they were using to communicate. Chapter 18. Thurfian and Tullius arrived at the Myth homestead. Tullius passed the first trial in the yard and was invited into the Myth mansion to continue the trials. After a couple days and passing many more trials, she was ready to start the final trial, climbing the mountain behind the mansion. On the mountain, Tullius found Myth-Ur Akiord, or Thraki, the patriarch of the Myth. He revealed that he had personally chosen her and Thrawn for the Myth, and he is worried that his successor will remove Thrawn from the family. Thraki also told Tullius that once she gets to the peak of the mountain and back to the base, she will be a trial born. Thurfian was waiting for Tullius at the mansion. They are needed back in the capital, as Arlani needs Tullius back on the Vigilant. Thurfian is not happy that Thrawn has left while he was distracted by the trials. He also briefly congratulated Tullius on passing the trials and becoming a trial born. Memories 11. Thurfian and Zistalmu met and decided that no answer from Thrawn was a no. Thurfian and Zistalmu have agreed to work together to take down Thrawn. Chapter 19. Anakin had shared their shield technology with Thrawn. Is my assumption, at least they came back with shield technology. After being away for 5 weeks, Thrawn and Sherry returned to Scylla. I do think it would have been pretty cool to have heard more about their adventure with Anakin, but I get the story and the Ascendancy needed to move forward. Thrawn wants to convince the Vax to work with the Chiss to defeat Yiv at Crimea. Tullius and Sherry returned the Vac fighter to Crimea with a note from Thrawn. Memories 12. Thrawn and Arlani were invited by Frangelic and the Garwian Unity to Solitaire for a diplomatic meeting. Solitaire was under attack from the Lyoians, which revealed that after Thrawn's help earlier, the Garwians have started attacking the Lyoian and want to take control of one of their planets. Thrawn and Ar'alani were angry and departed the diplomatic meeting. Chapter 20. Tullius gave over Thrawn's note, and then she and Sherry were taken to the Deathless by Kylori. Yiv plans on trading Tullius and Sherry for Thrawn, and then he will kill Thrawn. The speakers of the 9 ruling families and other political leaders met and have decided to authorize an attack against Yiv for taking a Skywalker, but will fully investigate the incidents leading up to Sherry being taken once she is returned. Thurfian hopes this will finally bring down Thrawn. Thrawn hired Kylori to be his navigator to Crimea. He revealed that it would most likely be their last journey together. Kylori pretended to be surprised. Chapter 21. The Vigilant is in hyperspace, heading to back up Thrawn and fight Yiv. Thrawn arrived, and it wasn't the location he was given, so Kylori put in a different location that Yiv gave him, and began a discourse with Yiv. Yiv changed some of the parameters of the deal, so Thrawn said he would change one on his end, arriving alone. The Springhawk and Vigilant arrived at Crimea with Ar'alani's fleet, which was the original location, and they have shown the VAC proof of a Nikardun blockade over Crimea. The VAC have agreed to not get involved in the fight, which benefits the Chiss and was expected. Yiv was not happy that this battle is happening over Crimea and had been outdone by Thrawn. Yiv threatened to end the Chiss. 3 Nikardun dreadnoughts that were with the Deathless left the discussion between Yiv and Thrawn to join the battered blockade against the Chiss. This leaves Thrawn alone against the Deathless. Chapter 22. The Nikarduns on the bridge were getting scared of Yiv as Thrawn's plan was coming into effect. Thrawn revealed to Kylori that he knew he had been helping Yiv in his war effort, which is a blatant violation of guild rules, and threatened that if he told anybody about the ongoings of these events, that he would report to the guild. Ar'alani ordered the Springhawk to play dead and asked the Vax for humanitarian aid, which is a funny term to use when there are no humans in this part of space, nor humans that speak the Chiss language, so it's an interesting one. The Nikarduns were alerted of the non-combatants and told not to attack them. The Nikarduns ignored the message and destroyed the VAC ships. Immediately after, the entire VAC defense fleet went after the Nikarduns. Thrawn crashed through the Deathless's viewport after Tullius and Sherry released sleepwalking gas. Thrawn captured Yiv and took data, also rescuing Tullius and Sherry. Memories 13. Speaker of the myth, Thistrian, informed Thurfian that Thrawn was set to be raised to Trialborn because the Aritzi were prepared to offer Thrawn ranking distant. Thurfian was flabbergasted. Chapter 23. Thrawn joined Tullius and Sherry for dinner, where they talked over the result of their mission. The bridge of the ship Kylori was navigating was empty when he came out of navigation mode. A voice came over the speaker, and Kylori told him what had happened to Yiv and the Nikardun. The voice identified itself as Chiss, the name of he who will finally and completely destroy the Chiss. Kylori will help Chiss where he can. Chiss was not Yiv's master, simply an observer watching and learning from Yiv's failures. That is the end of this book, and what an incredible book. The Thrawn series by Timothy Zahn has been a very well-renowned series, and I've been anticipating getting to it, and it did not let down at all. This book builds a whole new part of the galaxy, and Thrawn, when he comes over to the Republic, is part of the Empire. But man, he seems like, if you're in the opinion as the Chiss are the good people here, he's doing pretty good. A military guy for sure, but probably on the right side of things most of the time. Ar'alani's a very interesting character who I enjoyed, and it will be interesting to see throughout the next few years, maybe a couple of decades, before he does make the move over to the Republic, what happens to the rest of the Chiss. Because from what I've seen so far in the Republic, unless it's mentioned in Rebels, we don't really see any Chiss outside of Thrawn. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to the Ascendancy, or if it's still just out there. Because that's potentially terrifying. That's all I have for Thrawn Ascendancy Chaos Rising. Let me know your thoughts of the book in the comments down below. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.